Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
Hey, good. Mic is working.
My headphones are working.
Takes a while to get back into the swing of things after holiday break. Gotta check everything is working. Give it another minute or so and then get started. If I get really organized, I'll start sending out agendas before the meeting, but that might be a pipe dream.
Do you have any idea if Matthew from Lenara knows about these meetings?
Um, I don't know. Yeah, I that's actually one of the topics on my agenda was to talk about next steps, the stuff he's doing.
Mhm.
But I don't think I'm not sure he's aware of this meeting yet, or is able to attend this hour. He was so actually while we're on that, he sent out a call for, hey, can we maybe do a call with some other people in a Europe friendly time? Um, and so that's like a 4 p.m. Eastern call just to talk about this kind of next steps on his topic. And so if I get more details about that, I'll I'll share with this group. So, that might be a one-off call that he's going to organize just for that topic.
Oh,
And
who are you
and we,
talking about again?
Matthew Porwar, he
Ah,
did the EAT talk at LPC recently.
right. And he's in the UK?
I'm not sure where he's. Actually, I'm not sure where he's located. Yeah, he might. I know he works for ARM, but I'm not sure he's actually in the UK or not. But yeah, so we might not be able to get might not be able to get everybody there, but I think that yeah that would be that call. Um,
Where did they put out that request? Because I don't see anything on the Linux confidential compute mailing list. Was that like a Discord
no,
message?
this was like an off listing um, from a LPC thread. Yeah, so it's off list. I think he's going to send the invite to Linus Coco. But if he doesn't, yeah, when I see it, I'll share it with this group too. Anybody who's interested, let me take a note of that. But also see if he can come to this meeting because that would also be ideal too.
Yeah, because if he's in Europe, well, this might not be the best time for Europe.
This is not the best time for Europe.
It's like what 3 a.m. in the
Yeah,
UK right now, 3 or
yeah.
4.
Or
Okay. Any other opens people wanted to talk about before I go through stuff? Okay. So um, maybe I can share this. People can see my notes. That might help people understand where we're going. And I'm doing human taken notes because I'm not a AI person yet on note taking. Um, but yeah. So what I run through what where we're kind of at, and just kind of level set on on where how we're gonna go to these next phases. So uh, right now the staging tree is kind of frozen in time from before the holidays. That was kind of that last push to get everything in lined up for the 619 merge window, where we got the phase one stuff in. We got Alexi's AMD TIO implementation included in that. Um, Round of applause, pat ourselves on the back. The what I'm doing right now is rebasing that to latest and moving all the kind of topic branches forward. In terms of calling phase one all the way done, when you want to have more than one vendor upstream, um, TDX and CCA were kind of threatening to be ready. TDX is still has open dependencies on this VMX on series that Sean owns a V3 on, and it's also behind another feature because like we're having to pipeline that through the tip tree. The tip tree wants one feature to go ahead of this kind of phase one stuff. So nothing, nothing but simple dependencies there, but otherwise lined up. Um, on the CCA side, I don't see a niche here. I guess I gotta send him a note. I know that he said, "Hey, don't pull in the stuff. The stuff's not ready for 619. They're reworking the spec." I haven't seen him send out a new series for that stuff, so I'm probably going to keep the branch I had, the staging branch I had, and hopefully it merges cleanly. But if it gets into too much conflict, I might have to drop it and ask Anish to send me a refreshed one. So we'll see on that one. Uh, the last thing is we've had a few fixes come in. Got some fixes from former colleague Lee Ming, who I don't even know if he has any hardware, but he he tested this thing or he found a few bugs, and those are pretty good bugs. So those are queued up now. They're soaking in Linux Next. Those will go in pretty soon here. The big one was we have this SysFS API to determine so you can track like how many stream resources are being consumed by your host bridges and your devices, and that thing fell over when we tried to do multiple host bridges, and that was an oversight on my part. I'm going to pull that ABI out just for 619, just revert it for now. No big deal. As it didn't ship in a kernel, it's broken. Pull it out, and we'll try again at a later kernel. Details of that are on the list.
What's that ABI doing?
This ABI is the TSM the TSM IDE stream register ABI. This is the one that lets you go from your sysfs path on your TSM device or on that kind of TSM class device and go and list all the streams that are established. But the streams are named namespace per host bridge. But if you try to do multiple host bridges, you could have streams with the same name and then sysfs compliance.
See, I'm asking because recently my integration testers, they got a bunch of the same devices in the same machine. So now we have like up to 4 TDS devices in the same box and some under the same bridge. So I have a couple of patches to fix my stuff to work with multiple streams and all that. And now you're reverting this thing.
I'm reverting. So maybe I'll show you the patch so you can see it, and so make sure we're talking about the same thing. I don't think it would affect your case that you're trying to.
No, it will not directly affect my case, but remove some sysfs stuff which people could be using to know how many streams and if everything works okay, and
Right. I mean, so what I'm going to do is it'll be out of 619 because 619 shouldn't carry ABIs that still are not stable or are going to change. But I'll get the fix quickly into the staging tree so people can adjust their stuff. But this is all. Excuse me. Yeah, but this is also kind of an example of why the staging tree is radioactive. ABIs aren't done until they're done, and even RC kernels are radioactive in that sense of we can pull out ABIs that haven't shipped in like in a dash final kernel. But yeah, so let me post a link to that patch in the chat, and you can, and if it's going to cause immediate problems for your validation people, let me prioritize the fix for that.
And is it too late to suggest fixes for 619?
I think it's getting late for large fixes. I had
No, there's a short.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no. So if you sell some fixes for 619, yes, I just merged some today, and if you have some more, please get them to me as soon as possible. Yeah, we can still get them in, but I'm saying like this ABI change, changing ABIs is not something I would fix in the last week of the merge window, or in the last week of the development cycle. Like Linus would yell at me. I expect him to. So, but if it's not an ABI change, if it's another fix, yeah, no, send it right now. Those fixes can go anytime.
Okay, I'll do right after the call.
Okay. So in the chat here is the patch I'm talking about. And
because that's basically how I choose stream ID. And sorry, I assume you do it. Your TSM does it for you, right?
The TSM ID stream register. That's only that interface is only reporting the stream ID you picked. Not it's not.
No. Forget that ABI. That's fine.
Okay.
One of my fixes is that I didn't choose stream ID like carefully and wisely, and so I couldn't allocate more than one stream, and that created a problem. So I have a fix for that, and I use stream index and the host bridge as an ID.
Okay.
Because there is no like bitmap anywhere I could use, and that should be like unique enough across the root port and network. And I'll pause. I'm just curious how you allocate stream ID.
Yeah. Let me take a note there real quick. Lexi to fix TIO stream ID allocation. So on we use you can use the report index. So on TDX, the TSM, the reason we don't have allocators is because on TDX the TSM picks the stream ID, which saves us from this problem, but it causes other problems with the whole potentially causes other problems with this whole idea that we need to reserve a stream ID for the unused unused stream indexes on devices that fix you and I talked about before, because right now TDX doesn't know about that reservation, so it could potentially try to allocate the reserve thing. So we're still working, I think, to make sure that we don't get those collisions. But yeah, that's how we avoid it. Is we always just ask the TSM which stream ID would you like. Okay. So that's the last bits on phase one. So on phase two, we have those kind of preview patches that have been in the tree. Some of them haven't been sent out yet. I need to clean those up and send them out. The big thing I think that's missing from those is starting to finalize or get a consensus on what we want to do about the interface report, not from an attestation perspective, but from the MMIOs to map and how those get mapped and how much of that is what helpers we need in the core library for that. That end to end is still a bit fuzzy for me. I know you and Anish have some proposals. Right where I'm at right now is I need some time to go through and look and see. Like, have you guys looked at? So I'm going to go look at them and see where they overlap and review them and see like if we have consensus there. But have you already done that? Have you already looked at at Anish's stuff?
So mine is in CSFS.
Mm-hmm.
And it's called report, and it's like small binary structure. Definitely less than 4K, so doesn't really need netlink for it. can happily stay in CSFS, I would think.
So I think I'm less worried about like exporting it so people can use it for attestation. I'm more about like parsing it in a common place for like the MMIO registers and making sure that we're doing the resource management. And PCI core says, oh yeah, this is supposed to be secure. This is not supposed to be secure. That kind of.
Yeah, I have some of that to a bunch of macroses and headers and structures.
Okay.
And it's like include UAPI Linux tsm.h. I can post the link, or it's in my AMD GitHub.
Okay. So what we had last time that worked really well, I kind of want to see if I can repeat it for the phase 2 stuff, is try to get to a point where we have two vendor implementations on top of that phase baseline, and it would be just those patches. So similar to that last tree you sent me to do the phase 1 stuff. We had the core stuff that we all agreed upon, got into a staging tree as a baseline. You sent the TIO series on top of that, and we merged that.
I posted a link.
Okay.
To what I have in my tree.
I'll take a look at that, but I think what I'm asking for also next is starting to think about when you're going to send send it as a patch series for review versus, and say, okay, now it's ready to leave your tree and go into a review on the main.
Oh, sending is easy anytime. Well,
okay.
Maybe tomorrow, because it's like Friday 3 p.m.
Right. Well, yeah, but sending it relative to whatever core baseline that we have that we kind of established in the staging tree. So it sounds like you're basically, hey, whenever you're ready, whenever the common stuff is ready, give you a heads up, and you can send out a patch set that is based on that. I think Anisha's in the same boat, and I think Yulun. I don't want to speak for Yulun, but he might be in the same boat too. So yeah, maybe really this is just on me to get the tree in order and say, okay, here's a base commit. Please send me a vendor implementation relative to this thing. But yeah, I'll go through that link and see what we're missing there. So phase 2 I think is pretty. So to remind, yeah, phase 2 is just the guest side, just lock and accept, and we want to try to get that settled and agreed upon and happy so that it can start going into an upstream kernel on an accelerated basis, because that will be the kernel baseline that people can actually use to start building images that can be deployed to clouds and these kind of things. And then phase 3 is, yeah, go ahead.
In phase 2, we still don't mess with DMA and CBIT and encrypted, decrypted. We leave it for phase 3.
I'm expecting that anything we need to do to load a driver in the guest to operate on private memory would be part of phase 2. That the private memory may not actually be there until phase 3, which actually does all the correct setup on the host side. But that we would have kind of preview or work in progress phase 3 stuff
okay. So but the stuff I mentioned is strictly about the guest, and right now there is a lot of code in the guest to make sure that if it's confidential VM, then we mark memory as unencrypted for DMA. And if we cannot, we do the software TLB, all those switches. And I have this, and I posted this patch of mine yesterday in Discord.
Okay.
Where I basically like brute force disable for accepted devices. I don't enforce decryption, and I don't enforce software TLB. And there are several ways of doing it. But that's the patch which needs to go to phase 2.
Yeah.
Because this is what guest needs to do or stop doing.
Post it again, I guess, in this chat. Are you talking about the which?
Wait 1 second. Yeah, this one. So my current version is this. And I'm still building the complete picture in my head. Okay. How does the guest decide if it's going to be software TLB or just memory decrypted?
Okay, yep. That's the same. That's where, yeah, that's where I think we're at on phase 2 of is I think everybody has kind of a, hey, this works for me kind of implementation, and we need to chew on that and get it to a point where it's, yeah, we all agree on that we're seeing the same picture. So yeah, I'll take a look at that, and that'll be an ongoing topic. So I think in terms of when we're going to be ready for like kind of this idea, like where's phase 2 trending? Like that was a piece that had me thinking it's a bit further out than I was estimating. If you're also still at the point of like, what is this supposed to look like? So, I'll try to capture that in as a topic in the maturity map of additional things that we're thinking about now that as we're getting deeper into phase 2. I was hoping to have that by now at this point in the month, but CXL stuff got in the way. But that stuff should be quieting down now. So look at this other patch was your interface report thing. Okay. Okay. So that's state for phase 2. Yeah. So I'll get the current patches that are in there out on the list, and I think the biggest risk there right now is the driver core touches and making sure that Greg is okay with them, and the way that we're flagging a device as being part of the private domain or doing private DMA, CBIT, that kind of thing is that he's on board with that. I think that's the biggest hurdle for me. The rest is just us coming to consensus, which I think we're getting better at. So I'm not too worried about that. But the unknown things are is that piece.
All right. You say driver attaches. That reminds me. My colleagues in AMD doing some device. They say there is a working scenario when the driver decides it needs to reset function, and it issues FLR itself, and then it wants to reattest the device without reloading the driver. And they can hack things.
They want to reattest. Do they lose trust in the device while they're reattesting?
No. Well, no. They want to accept it. Say it asks for report comes the same, and all the digests are the same. They will just lock and accept. But driver is loaded at that point. So the idea is that whatever was mapped remains mapped. Just driver is not touching it while it's doing its reset thing, and then it does lock and accept. And then it expects things to work. Except locking and accepting requires no bound driver.
But why do you need to lock and accept?
You see the dilemma, right?
I see the dilemma, but I'm trying to figure out, like, if you know you're doing a non-security state destroying reset and you just want to validate that nothing, because FLR is defined not to drop you out of the TCB, or it is. Because if FLR drops you out of the TCB, then yeah, you have to relock and reaccept. But I don't.
Shouldn't it like clear command and bus master? MIC and BME.
Well, which FOR are we talking about here? Talking about VFFOR or PFFOR?
VF.
Okay. I'm trying to remember if that's supposed to toss the device into the error state or not. Let me look at the spec.
Yeah, in our case, David, I think the device is basically the VF is gone with the VFFLR, so we'll have to recreate another, like, re-enable a VF and then go through the process. So it does go into error state.
Yeah. I mean, if the TDES state changes, you have to. That's effectively like dropping the link. Like, you have to start over. So I don't understand this. I guess, yeah. Challenging the assumption that you could actually hide the fact and pretend nothing happened. But I will remind that we do have this thing called Phase 5, and Phase 5 is supposed to be like advanced error handling and performance optimization. Performance optimization, because I mean, I know that people are going to want to have recovery.
Okay, but then I just tell people for the time being, remove that check for bound driver and wish them luck.
Right, yeah, because it potentially confuses the DMA core, because you've entered the error state, so you should be okay from a security perspective. So, but yeah, that sounds like something we want to figure out at some point. Is are there scenarios where we don't have to destroy driver? We don't have to destroy do a full unbind, because we know we're trying to do a recovery that hides the fact that hides needing to do the full unbind. But yeah, just need to make sure that we're not confusing the DMA core about needing to remap things.
Well, I would think that FLR will trigger unbind in QEMU.
No, but in case of a VFFLR, virtual function FLR, the PF physical function is still active, right? So why would that unbind the driver?
We're talking about so right now the policy that we've been negotiating, just like the simplest policy we can do without having to go do a whole bunch of new DMA mapping.
The case scenario is that you have this driver and the guest with the VF, and at some point, driver decides that VF is misbehaving and it wants to reset the VF, the driver itself, and it does this FLR and it loses run state, and it wants to bring run state back. And let's assume that QEMU noticed that, did unbind, bind. Now you have PCI function and config unlocked. And then guest will try and lock and accept it to continue the operation.
So the bind operation is not happening in the guest? I thought the bind
TDI
operation
bind.
was moved into the guest for TDI bind.
The bind operation moved into the guest, but the policy we have to kind of enforce the fact that we can't have a device talking to two different worlds at the same time, is that to change that in order to do the lock state, you cannot, like when you go from unlocked to locked, you cannot have a driver bound during that event. Right now, so we're saying uh, that the lock event happens without a driver attached. And so if you have a driver attached and you go to and you reset and go to error state and you want to lock it again, the only way you can lock it again is if you unload the driver currently.
Okay.
So Dan, just to
Currently,
kind of understand this a little bit more, are you talking about the driver inside the VM?
The inside the VM driver. Yes.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah, but
it's like driver recovery, but not because something happened on PCI Express. It's because driver decided to do so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Trusted driver in trusted state, trusted to get back to the state it was before, feels like something that is not trying to confuse the PCI DMA or the DMA API, and that we'd have some kind of solution to bring the thing back. Yeah, I think if you have the use case right now, commenting out that requirement is okay. But for upstream, we're going to figure out something that is kind of the blessed path.
So is the lock call and accept failed when a driver is already bound to that device?
Correct. Yeah, you can't carry out the lock and accept flows with the driver bound.
Yeah, I see.
So the other piece that is still open that I want to finish an example of is this case of needing to do some configuration of the device uh, in the unlock state before you lock it, and then and then accept it. In that case, right now, the kind of consensus position is that we're gonna have a separate driver for that that does that preparation. I think there's a path to allow it to be done within one driver. So you load the driver, it does the setup, and then you load the same driver again after you lock and accept. But that will be a follow on to this kind of initial stage where we're gonna depend on it just being two different drivers for now, just for simplicity. But it's related to this error handling problem, because if you VFFLR and you need to do some prep and you need to do that while the device is unlocked, hopefully you don't need DMA for that setup. But yeah, this might be why you need to unload the driver, go back to your preparation driver, do your prep work, lock, accept all over again. So it gets kind of messy depending on the use case. But I think we would also say that, hey, if you are, that the happy path is you don't need that your device coming out of reset is ready to lock. That you don't need to do some setup steps. And that if you do need to do setup steps, that might mean you forfeit some of these fancier things like the ability to automatically recover back into the TCB after a reset, things like that. So that's kind of the way the approach that is going to be least invasive and least likely to cause upstream maintainers to get stressed out is if we kind of make these promises about, yeah, we're just going to do the simple thing. The driver's not going to be bound while these things are happening. That kind of thing. Okay, but consensus is that we do think VFFLR drops the thing out of the TCB. So we can figure that out.
Yeah, if the device enters the error state, it's not supposed to be in the TCP anymore, and it's required to drop it to the error state on the VFFLR.
Okay.
If it's locked or in run state.
You may want to add to this sentence that it's like without reloading the driver is the desire. Ideally. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. I do see Elun join. Thanks for joining, Elun. I think we were talking earlier about getting to a point where we can start sending out some of the vendor patches for phase 2, or at least comparing notes on what people have. So Lexi has some of his stuff ready to go. I want to compare notes with what you have, and see if we're all on the same page in terms of like handling interface reports, setting up the encrypted MMIO, like doing encrypted IO remap, and all these kinds of things. Before we can call phase 2 at a consensus point.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've had a chance to look at Alexi's stuff, or Alexi, if you had, like, well, I guess you haven't seen Yulin's stuff because it's not posted yet. So, but I don't know if either of you guys have seen it compared with Anisha's stuff.
I see that Anish has some outstanding patches for this phase 2, and for MD we need to check this this public GitHub for it. Is it?
Well, yeah. So I don't want to go spelunking through people's GitHubs, because those, like, I want to see actual upstream kind of ready proposals, best foot forward thing. So I'm kind of discounting what's in private GitHubs, and so unless it's kind of been posted to a list and we've talked about, or we kind of talked about it here, or it's in the staging tree, then I'm not going to do too much fishing for it. But yeah, so it. I'll go look back in and see what Nisha's posted. The last thing I saw of his was his kind of phase 1 posting. And then he has his private tree. Because I tend to think private trees are the just get it working, kind of ignore what upstream might care about, and just get it working. And we're trying to go to the next phase, which is upstream ready stuff. So that's why I'm kind of discounting the private trees.
So you mean that we can start to submit some patches for the vendor driver for the phase 2?
Oh, well, no, not the vendor driver. Like, I want to, like, so do the same thing we did for phase 1, which is get to the point where all the core pieces that everybody agrees upon are in a base commit. Get to that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, if you need something in DMA core, you need something, yeah, in a core change. Let's get that patch set agreed upon, to stable across the vendors, and then we can worry about vendor trees on top.
Oh, okay. I think that currently I think I'm good to most of the phase 2 parts on the core part. But I think maybe we need to include the interface report things in our phase 2 core, because I think that that is necessary to all vendors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was my question before you joined. Is I have the feeling that we need that. It may not. It's not going to be a mid layer, but some library helper calls to say like this. Here's a PCI core understanding of the interface report and helping vendor implementations get that mapped.
Yeah.
Like my biggest simplification, I'm like, so simplification I'm thinking about are like, have initial phase two just map everything in the interface report and not allow for these kind of like I think there's a feature for changing the attribute type and these kind like we would just like the simplest thing is accept the report, accept the MIO as is, and then a follow on can be to try to change it or negotiate with the driver to say, oh, I want to only map this part of it.
Yeah, but I think that the initiative that I made this interface report person patch is because every vendors need to accept or validate the encrypted MMR ranges in specific way, and and the secure firmware need the precise MMR ranges. We cannot hand over all bar ranges to the secure firmware. So then need we need to make a precise encrypt MMR range descriptor for that. And I see that the patch, the vendor patches create their own MMR range descriptors for validating or accept. And I think that will be redundant, and we already have a standard PCI TSM MMR to describe the ranges.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I want to get to. Yeah, because if a Christoph or a Greg sees like, hey, how you guys working on this stuff? Like, oh, everybody did this exact same thing 3 different ways. It's like,
yeah,
that's not going to work.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll take a look at your thing, and yeah, maybe we'll compare notes and send out a patch and yeah, just start that. I mean, same thing as phase one. Send out patches, get people to agree, disagree, and bash it out on the list. So yeah, let's get that out. Let's get that out as a proposal. Okay. So then I kind of want to start opening the door on the phase three stuff, because like, yes, the phase three stuff's not going to go is after phase two is done, but I think it's we can start getting that stuff into the staging tree. Like our even if it's rough, even if we know there's upstream conversation that we need to have. The biggest thing that I think was the whole discussion with Christian and DMA, but the 619 has that update. Like, I haven't taken a look yet, Vilum, but it's not like you and Lex are talking about the incremental for what we need is pretty small now, right?
Yes, I think yes. Actually, I think Jason G has done most of the works. It successfully exported the VFI DMA buffer to IOMMUFD for IOMMU mapping. So for KVM mapping, it's mostly the same. Yeah.
Okay. So that seems like that seems something we'll just immediately put in and start the phase three branch with that patch, with your KVM patch, and off we go. So, yeah, like I think, yeah, whenever you get a chance, I think go ahead and send out that proposal, and I can you can send it as RFC, and I can pull it in, but I think you tell me what you think is comfortable, but that's the kind of patch I want to see on the list and be able to pull into the staging tree.
Okay, I can send out the DMA buff enabling patches for KVM mapping. Is it?
Something like this. Yeah, I might be asking for something in the middle of a series, and you'd be like, "Oh no, I want to send out more or with more context." So
Mm,
we can talk off list or talk off the call about what's right to send out. But that's the kind of infrastructure I want to start landing in the staging tree.
okay,
I
okay.
mean, the user might not arrive until a bit later, so it might not be able to go upstream right away. We'll see, but the staging tree doesn't need to have users right away.
Okay, okay.
Hey, Dan, just for my education, can you tell me what the scope of phase 3 is? Like, just a
Phase,
few seconds.
yes, and it's also in this maturity map document, the phase descriptions. But yeah, phase 3 is all of the VFIO, IOMFD host side kind of preparation to say, hey, this device we're assigning into the guest, you're going to get TDIS kind of lock and bind operations against it. So it's the secure MMIO mapping. It's the secure DMA setup from the host side.
Oh, got it. Okay. Yep.
So yeah, it's all the backing support for all the guest operations we landed with that are part of phase 2. And then phase 4 just is really quick. Is just attestation. Is
okay.
That the expectation is the staging tree is useful if you can just say lock and you can just say accept without needing to figure all this attestation ABI stuff. I did see that. So that's phase 3. I think kind of a plan of sending out some patches to get that started. For phase 4, Lucas did get a chance to do some more work on his native authentication stuff over the holiday break. The big thing he has there is this pretty nice, looks like a nice facility, like a zero copy netlink proposal for just dumping large blobs out of the kernel, things like the SPDM transcript and that kind of thing. So I still think that for the TSM case, we're not going to do the exact same thing as the native path, but in terms of reusing that same transport, we probably want to do it. Alexi, this gets back to your saying, oh yeah, you have a sysfs attribute for the interface report. I mean, I think in the conversations I've had with David, we've 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 kind of been operating on the assumption that the full kind of certificates or interface report measurements is kind of just one big blob that user space cares about for attestation that we might not like. Do we actually need to separate out interface report as a separate attribute? But these are the kind of questions that we have in phase 4.
Separate what from what? Sorry.
Just have a TSM evidence blob, or does it really need to be here's the interface report, here's the certificates, separate separate objects?
Well, see, interface report is what just kernel cares about, and measurements and certificates, it's what just user space cares about. Mm-hmm. So I would keep them separate.
Yeah, I mean,
or maybe the user space could also read report as well, but it needs to be like a separate thing in the just kernel.
It is a separate thing. Yes, I guess the interface report is not. Or, the interface report is, but the interface report is part of the attestation. But yeah, like in terms of consuming the interface report, it is separate. like we were talking about before, we do need to validate that, and it has implications for how we map things. But for attestation, I think it's just more information. So this gets back to the conversation that Matthew wants to run. Like in terms, so Matthew from ARM kind of cornered me at Linux Plumbers and asked like how we can help. And like what this effort really needs is that while we're busy on these kind of phase 2 and 3 blocking and tackling kind of issues of just kind of plodding along and getting to consensus, somebody could be putting up proposals for phase 4, what it looks like on the TSM side, and driving that. So maybe that comes out of this conversation that Matthew's going to organize. But I kind of said like, yeah, it's kind of just waiting. It's up for grabs, waiting for somebody to put that proposal forward and get to community consensus. He did have this idea about like, because Lucas's patches allow you to inject a certificate onto the kernel key ring, and that can be used to authenticate devices. He's like, oh, like, so for the TSM case, we could just do the same thing. Like, you just inject an endorsement certificate into the kernel, and it can basically handle authentication itself. But this will be my question for this upcoming meeting is like, why would we need that if Uspace can make the determination on its own that the evidence is good or bad, then you just hit the accept button in Sysopets. You don't need to inject a certificate into the kernel. So that's a disconnect that I have right now with where he's kind of, but yeah, I think he's still kind of thinking through the problem and how to align with what Lucas has been doing.
It's possible that's a CMA requirement and not a TS requirement.
It's definitely a CMA requirement. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be anything that we need for the TSM case, because I think for the TSM case we're already in a secure guess. Like we just
yeah. And the guest is the only one who can determine whether or not that certificate's valid, really, right? Because it's the only one that's authorized to approve anything to do about the TDI, whether it's its certificate chain. Because it might not want to trust a particular vendor. So any certificate chain for that vendor won't matter.
Yep. So
that's for the guest which doesn't care about measurements, right?
Also the guest doesn't care about measurements, right? Yeah, CMA cares about measurements.
But I suspect our guests will care about measurements.
Yeah.
Our guest kernel does not care about measurements, but the guest definitely cares about measurements. But.
Yeah. I think this goes back to that proposed architecture they had for user space agent that would provide several plugin mechanisms for, get evidence, verify evidence, and then, hook whatever vendor specific or generic buttons you need to push to say, I'm okay with this device. And all that can be done from user space. The only thing that I've seen that, and I don't know if it's because I haven't read over the new spec for TDX that they published recently. But it doesn't seem like there's a way for a guest to query back to the host for a new set of measurements with a particular nonce or even just a subset of the overall measurement space. It seems like, hey, I just need to get the device quote for this device. Because okay, here's your blob back.
No, like we do have a way to get new measurements with nonce from the guest, right?
Yes. Yes, we do have the devising for yes, the CC recollection.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so there's a recollection method.
Yep.
So that's kind of interesting though, because I guess that would be tossed into a TDI. It wouldn't be tossed for the whole device. So okay, that makes sense.
But
I
yeah,
was just trying to think about how it does it in a way that it doesn't affect other TDIs.
device info recollection. I mean, yeah, it should be TDI scoped.
Yeah.
But this is where I think SysFS falls over, is because
Mm-hmm.
you want
Yeah.
you want to have a transaction that says I am doing this new information gathering evidence report, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
with a new nonce.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think the SysFS interface gives you, because the SPM is a request response uh, interface to begin with, right? So you're not going to get that out of SysFS.
Yeah.
You're going to get the SUNXFS fiasco all over again. Where
Well,
we have
I
to
have
basically do that.
SysFS in the guest for nonce. So I write new nonce, and then I read measurements, and when I read that, it triggers DHCP and all this machinery to read new measurements with the new nonce. So this is SysFS. Kind of ugly, but
Are your measurement
works.
reads blocking to wait for everything to happen behind the scenes for the regathering?
It is blocking, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that this is where we're going to want to be unified with CMA, at least in terms of the I have I have I have a nonce and I need to get a new blob with this nonce. Linux shouldn't need multiple versions of doing that thing. So that's where I think Lucas is close, and we can borrow that for the TSM case. But
Yeah. Hoping Matthew can drive this work, because there's a whole slew of stuff that needs to be written above that interface.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah. He seems, of all the people I've said, like, hey, you want to take this on? He's the one that seems to have the time and and has been pushing it. So hopefully it comes through. But like otherwise, yeah, we get through phase 2 and phase 3, and then we see what's done. Either phase 4 is already done because Matthew was able to do it, or we fill in. But yeah, that's the plan. So yeah, just kind of a lot of plotting, kind of boring work of like, oh, I just want this stuff to work. Like, yeah, we're going through the this work of just making sure that it's the same stuff, and it makes sense to other people reviewing it. So it's kind of this is the upstreaming process. Have a minute left. Want to make sure any kind of closing questions that came up while we were talking about the
Couple of
other
weeks
things.
ago, Anish posted 3 patches in Discord. Well, 3 links about IOMMUFD and adding new operations, which is bind and guest request. Have you looked at this?
I have not looked at this.
Right. Anyway, first patch suggests taking reference on KVM when we register the device. Not when we bind, but when we register it. So it's gonna hold another reference to KVM longer than it may really need to. Because if device is never accepted, then there is no point holding KVM reference.
Right.
And the other one is he called guest request just an op, like IOCTL is called op operation and not specific to bind. And it's more like bike shedding. But if that is an op, then op can be bind as well. So and guest request, so we can use just one IOCTL. Or we want as many IOCTLs. We want IOCTLs to be specific and not generic, like nameless.
I mean, yeah, like it is bike shitting, but yeah, this is why we had to come to.
It's phase 3, so it can wait a bit.
It can wait a bit, but yeah, I'm open to like if we can if we don't have to wait until phase 2 all the way done to start thinking about phase 3 stuff. But yeah, we kind of have something similar on the TDX side where we're like bind is an operation that's kind of well defined. Everybody does it, and then I think we're gonna have a bunch of other kind of guest requests that are kind of guest TSM talking to host TSM that mean the other vendors might not map all the same. And yeah, so I think if there's a chance it's going to be a cross vendor common operation, we should give it a name. For if it's definitely going to be in this camp of kind of random extra messages that that other people need for their kind of special flavor, for their special guest to host interface, then that can go into
Okay.
kind of omnibus thing. But that's my off the cuff answer. But I kind of agree with you that that there probably are some things that we want to give real names to, but maybe we don't have to give everything a name because otherwise, I think it starts getting to be a lot. I don't know.
Do we want to hold KVM reference all the
Oh,
time?
and the KVM reference, yeah, that's something to go look at. Yulun, have you seen these patches?
All right.
I need to have a chance to see that patch. I didn't see that yet.
Okay, yeah. So
can you put a link here or
it's in Discord. Just a couple of
Discord. Okay, I can check that. Okay.
Okay, so like let me see if I can copy this. Like here's one link. Yep, yeah. So
no, we're already over an hour, and someone has to go read bedtime story.
Okay,
I'm sure.
Yeah, I do. So I'll go read bedtime story. And thanks for meeting everybody. And yes, hop on Discord if you have additional questions. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
See you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.